Shalom. Welcome to day 101 of the Daily Bread. We'll be reading in the book of Leviticus chapter 22, in the book of 1 Kings chapter 7, Psalms 101, Proverbs 10, the book of John chapter 18. We'll be in the scriptures, 2009 version. Leviticus chapter 22 is on page 128. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, Speak to Aaron and his sons, that they separate themselves from the set-apart offerings of the children of Israel, and they do not profane my set-apart name in what they set apart to me. I am Yahweh. Say to them, any man of all of your offspring throughout your generations who draws near the set-apart offerings which the children of Israel set apart to Yahweh, while he has uncleanness upon him, that being shall be cut off from before me. I am Yahweh. Any man of the offspring of Aaron who is a leper or has a discharge does not eat the set-apart offering until he is clean. And whoever touches what is rendered unclean by a being or a man who has had an emission of semen, or a man who touches any swarming creature by which he would be made unclean, or by any being by whom he would become unclean, or a man who touches any swarming creature by which he would be made unclean, or any being by whom he would become unclean, even any of his uncleanness. The being who has touched it shall be unclean until evening, and does not eat the set-apart offerings, but shall bathe his body in water. And when the sun goes down, he shall be clean, and afterwards eat the set-apart offerings, because it is his food. He does not eat that which dies or is torn by beasts, becoming unclean by it. I am Yahweh. And they shall guard my charge. My is capitalized as well as charge, lest they bear sin for it and die thereby, when they profane it. I, Yahweh, set them apart. And no stranger eats the set-apart offering. A settler with the priest or a hired servant does not eat the set-apart offering. And when the priest buys a being with his silver, he does not eat of it. And one who is born in his house does eat his food. And when a priest's daughter is married to a stranger, she does not eat of the set-apart offering. But when a priest's daughter is a widow or put away and has no child, and has returned to her father's house as in her youth, she does eat her father's food, but no stranger eats it. And when a man eats the set-apart offering by mistake, then he shall give a set-apart offering to the priest, and add 1/5 to it. And let the priest not profane the set-apart offerings of the children of Israel, which they lift up to Yahweh, or allow them to bear the crookedness of trespass when they eat their set-apart offering. For I am Yahweh, who sets them apart. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, Speak to Aaron and his sons, and to all of the children of Israel, and say to them, any man of the house of Israel, or of the sojourners in Israel, who brings his offerings for any of his vows or for any of his voluntary offerings which they bring to Yahweh as an ascending offering for your acceptance is a male, a perfect one from the cattle, from the sheep, or from the goats. Whatever has a defect you do not bring, for it is not acceptable to you for you. And when a man brings a slaughtering of peace offerings to Yahweh to complete a vow or a voluntary offering from the cattle or the sheep, it is to be perfect, to be accepted. Let there be no defect in it. Those blind or broken or cut or having an ulcer or eczema or scabs, you do not bring to Yahweh, nor make an offering by fire of them on the slaughter place to Yahweh. As for a bull or a lamb that has any limb deformed or dwarfed you do prepare as a voluntary offering, but for a vow it is not accepted. Do not bring to Yahweh what is bruised or crushed or torn or cut. Do not do it in your land. And from the son of a foreigner's hand you do not bring any of these as the bread of your Elohim, for their corruption is in them, and defects are in them. They are not acceptable to you. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, when a bull or sheep or a goat is born, it shall be 7 days with its mother, and from the 8th day and thereafter it is acceptable as an offering made by fire to Yahweh. But do not slay a cow or sheep and its young on the same day. And when you slaughter a slaughtering of thanksgiving to Yahweh, slaughter it for your acceptance. It is eaten the same day. Leave none of it till morning. I am Yahweh, and you shall guard my commands and do them. I am Yahweh, and do not profane my set-apart name, and I shall be set apart among the children of Israel. I am Yahweh, who sets you apart, who brought you out of the land of Mizraim to be your Elohim. I am Yahweh. Moving over to 1 Kings chapter 7, on page 354. And Solomon built his own house for 13 years, and he completed his entire house. And he built the house of the forest of Lebanon. It was 100 cubits long and 50 cubits wide and 30 cubits high, with 4 rows of cedar columns and cedar beams of columns. And it was paneled with cedar above the beams that were 45 columns, 15 rows, 15 to a row. And there were windows with narrow frames in 3 rows. And window was opposite window 3 times. And all the doors and the doorposts had square frames. And window was opposite window 3 times. And he made the porch of the columns 50 cubits long and 30 cubits wide, and the porch was in front of them, and the columns and the roof was in front of them. And he made a hall for the throne, the hall of right ruling where he ruled. And it was paneled with cedar from floor to floor, and the house where he was to dwell. And the other courtyard within the hall was of like workmanship. And Solomon made a house like this hall for Pharaoh's daughter whom he had taken. All these were precious stone hewn to size, sawed with a saw inside and out, from the foundation to the coping, and also on the outside of the great courtyard. And the foundation was of precious stone, large stones of 10 cubits and stones of 8 cubits, and above were precious stones hewn to size and cedar wood. So the great courtyard all around had 3 rows of hewed stones, and a row of cedar beams, as was the inner courtyard of the house of Yahweh, and the porch of the house. And sovereign Solomon sent and brought Hiram from Sor. He was son of a widow from the tribe of Naphtali, and his father was a man of Sor, a bronze worker. And he was filled with wisdom and understanding and skill in working with all kinds of bronze work. So he came to sovereign Solomon and did all his work. And he did cast 2 columns of bronze, each one 18 cubits high, and a line of 12 cubits. Measure the circumference of each. And he made 2 capitals of cast bronze to put on the tops of the columns. The height of one capital was 5 cubits, and the height of the other was 5 cubits. A lattice network with reefs of chainwork for the capitals, which were on the tops of the columns, 7 chains for one capital and 7 for the other capital. And he made the columns and 2 rows of pomegranates above the network, all around the cover of the capitals that were on top. And so he did for the other capital. And the capitals were on top of the columns in the hall, which were in the shape of lilies, 4 cubits. And there were capitals above also on the 2 columns, by the bulge which was next to the network. And the pomegranates were 200 in rows on each of the capitals all around. And he set up the column by the porch of the Hekel. And he set up the column on the right and called its name Yakin, Y-A-K-I-N. And he set up the column on the left and called it Boaz, B-O-A-Z. And on top of the columns was lily work. Thus the work of the columns was completed. And he set the sea of cast metal 10 cubits from one rim to the other, round all about, 5 cubits high, and a line of 30 cubits measured around it. And below its rim were ornaments all around, 10 to a cubit, all the way around the sea. The ornaments were cast in 2 rows when it was cast. It stood on 12 oxen, 3 facing north, 3 facing west, 3 facing south, and 3 facing east. And the sea was set upon them, and all their backs toward parts back, and all their back parts were inward. And it was a handbreadth thick, and its rim was shaped like the rim of a cup, like a lily blossom. It held 2,000 baths. He made 10 stands of bronze. Each stand was 4 cubits long, and 4 cubits wide, and 3 cubits high. And this is how the stand was made. They had side panels, and side panels were between frames, and on the side panels were between the frames were lions, oxen, and cherubim, and the pedestal above the frame. Below the lions and oxen were wreaths of beaten work, and on each stand had 4 bronzen wheels and axles of bronze, and its 4 feet had supports. Under the basin were cast supports beside each wreath. And its opening inside the crown at the top was 1 cubit, and the opening was round like the work of the pedestal, 1.5 cubits. And also on the opening were engravings, but the side panels were square, not round. And the four wheels were under the side panels, and the axles of the wheels were joined to the stand, and the height of wheel was 1.5 cubits. And the wheels were made like chariot wheels. Their axle pins and their rims and their spokes and their hubs were all cast. And there were 4 supports at the 4 corners of each stand. Its supports were of the stand itself. And on the top of the stand, 1/2 cubit in height, all around. And on the top of the stand were flanges, and its side panels were on the same. And on the plates of its flanges and on the side panels he engraved cherubim, lions, and palm trees, according to the clear space on each, all with wreaths all around. He made 10 stands like this. All of them were one mold, one measure, and one shape. And he made 10 basins of bronze. Each basin contained 40 baths, and each basin was 4 cubits, one basin on each of the 10 stands. And he put 5 stands on the right side of the house and 5 on the left side of the house. And he put the sea on the right side of the house to the east, facing the south. And Hiram made the pots and the shovels and bowls. And Hiram completed doing all the work that he was to do for Sovereign Solomon on the house of Yahweh. 2 columns and the bowl-shaped capitals that were on top of the columns, and the 2 networks covering the 2 bowl-shaped capitals which were on top of the columns. And the 400 pomegranates were 2 networks, 2 rows of pomegranates for each network to cover the 2 bowl-shaped capitals that were on top of the columns. And the 10 stands and the 10 basins on the stands, and the 1 sea, and the 12 oxen under the sea, and the pots and the shovels and the bowls, and all these utensils which Hiram made for Sovereign Solomon for the house of Yahweh were of polished bronze. The sovereign had them cast in clay in the district of Yarden between Sukkot and Sarin. And Solomon left all the utensils unweighed, because they were many, nor was the weight of the bronze searched out. So Solomon made all the utensils for the house of Yahweh, the slaughter place of gold, and the table of gold on which was the showbread, and the lampstands of refined gold, 5 on the right side and 5 on the left side, in front of the speaking place, with the flowers of the lamps and the snuffers of gold, and the basins and the snuffers and the bowls and the ladles and the fire holders of refined gold, and the hinges of gold, both of the doors of the inner house, the most set apart place, and for the doors of the house of Jekyll. Thus all the work which Solomon had done for the house of Yahweh was completed. And Solomon brought in the set apart items of his father David, the silver and the gold and the utensils, and he put them in the treasuries of the house of Yahweh. Moving on to Psalms 101. I sing of loving commitment and right ruling. To you, O Yahweh, I sing praises. I act wisely in the way. When do you come to me? I walk in the midst of my house with a perfect heart. I set no matter Abelia before my eyes. I hate the work of those who fall away. It does not cleave to me. A perverse heart turns away from me. I do not know evil. Him who secretly slanders his neighbor, I cut off. I do not tolerate one who has a haughty look and a proud heart. My eyes are on the trustworthy of the land, to dwell with me. He who walks in a perfect way, he serves me. He who practices deceit does not dwell in my house. He who speaks lies does not stand in my presence. Each morning I uproot all the wrong of the land, to cut off all the workers of wickedness from the city of Yahweh. On to Proverbs 11, on page 738. A false scale is an abomination to Yahweh, but a perfect weight is his delight. Pride comes, then comes shame, but with the humble is wisdom. The integrity of the straight ones guides them, but the slipperiness of the treacherous destroys them. Riches do not profit in the day of wrath, but righteousness delivers from death. The righteous of the perfect makes his way straight, but by his own wrongness the wrong one falls. The righteous of the straight ones delivers them, but the treacherous are caught by greed. When a wrong man dies, expectancy perishes, and the ambition of the wicked shall be lost. The righteous is delivered from distress, and the wrong one takes his place. The defiled one destroys his neighbor with his mouth, but the righteous is delivered by knowledge. When the righteous prosper, the city rejoices, and when the wrong perish, there is a shouting. By the blessing of the straight city, by the blessing of the straight, the city is exalted, but by the mouth of the wrong it is overthrown. He who lacks heart despises his neighbor, but a man of understanding keeps silence. A slanderer is a revealer of secrets, but one with a trustworthy spirit conceals a matter. Without guidance the people fall, but in a great council there is safety. He who is a guarantor for a stranger suffers harm, but one who hates shaking hands in pledge is safe. A woman showing favor obtains esteem, glory, but ruthless men obtain riches. A loving, committed man is rewarding his being, but he who is cruel troubles his own flesh. The wrong one earns false wages, but the one sowing righteousness a true reward. Thus righteousness leads to life, and one pursuing evil to his own death. The perverse of heart are an abomination to Yahweh, but the perfect in the way are his delight. Hand to hand the evil does not go unpunished, but the seed of the righteous shall escape. Like a ring of gold in a pig's snout is a beautiful woman who lacks good sense. The desire of the righteous is only good. The expectancy of the wrong is wrath. There is one who scatters yet increases more, and one who withholds more that is right becomes to poverty. The generous being is enriched, and he who waters is also watered himself. The people curse him who withholds grain, but blessing is on the head of him who sells it. He who earnestly seeks good seeks what is pleasing, but to him who seeks evil it comes to him. He who trusts in his riches falls, but the righteous flourish like a leaf. He who troubles his own house inherits wind, and the fool is a servant to the wise of heart. The fruit of righteousness is a tree of life, and he who is winning lives, and he who is winning lives is wise. See, the righteous and the earth shall be rewarded. How much more the wrong and the sinner? On to John chapter 18 on page 1045. Having said these words, Yeshua went out with his taught ones beyond the Kidron Torah, where there was a garden, into which he and his taught ones entered. And Judah, who delivered him up, also knew the place, because Yeshua often met there with his taught ones. And Judah, then, having received the company of soldiers and officers from the chief priests and Pharisees, came there with lanterns and torches and weapons. Yeshua, then knowing all that would come upon him, went forward and said to them, Whom do you seek? They answered him, Yeshua of Nazareth. Yeshua said to them, I am. And Judah, who delivered him up, was also standing with them. When therefore he said to them, I am, they drew back and fell to the ground. Once more he asked them, Whom do you seek? And they said, Yeshua of Nazareth. And Yeshua answered, I said to you that I am. If then you seek me, allow these to go, in order that the word might be filled which he spoke. Of those whom you have given me, I have lost none. Then Simon Peter, having a sword, drew it and struck the high priest's servant and cut off his right ear. And the servant's name was Melech. And Yeshua said to Peter, Put your sword into the sheath. Shall I not drink the cup of my Father, which my Father has given me? Then the company of soldiers and the commander and the officers of the Judean seized Yeshua and bound him, and led him away to Hannah first, for he was the father-in-law of Caiaphas, who was the high priest that year. And Caiaphas was the one who gave counsel to the Judean that it was better that one man should die for the people. And Simon Peter followed Yeshua with another taught one, and the taught one was known to the high priest, and went with Yeshua into the courtyard of the high priest. But Peter was standing outside the door, so that the other taught one, who was known to the high priest, went out and spoke to her who kept the door, and brought Peter in. Then the servant girl who kept the door said to Peter, Are you also one of this man's taught ones? And he said, I am not. And the servants and officers who had made a fire of coals stood there, because it was cold, and they warmed themselves. And Peter was standing with them and warming himself. When the high priest asked Yeshua about his taught ones and his teaching, Yeshua answered them, I spoke openly in the world. I always taught in the congregation and in the set-apart place, where the Judean always meet. I spoke no word in secret. Why do you ask me? Ask those who have heard me what I had said to them. See, they know what I said. And when he had said this, one of the officers who stood by slapped Yeshua in the face, saying, Do you answer the high priest this way? Yeshua answered him, If I have spoken evilly, bear witness of the evil. But if well, why do you strike me? Then Hannah sent him bound to the high priest Caiaphas. And Simon Peter was standing and warming himself. When they said to him, Are you also one of his taught ones? He denied it and said, I am not. One of the servants of the high priest, a relative of the one whose ear Peter cut off, said, Did I not see you in the garden with him? Then Peter again denied it, and immediately a cock crowed. Then they led Yeshua to Kepha to the palace, and it was early. And they themselves did not go into the palace, lest they should be defiled, but that they might eat of the Pesach. Pilate therefore came out to them and said, What accusation do you bring against this man? They answered and said to him, If he were not an evildoer, we would not have delivered him up to you. Then Pilate said to them, You take him and judge him according to your laws. The Judean said to him, It is not right for us to put anyone to death, in order that the word of Yeshua might be filled. He spoke, signifying by the death he was about to die. Then Pilate went back into the palace and called Yeshua and said to him, Are you the sovereign of the Judean? Yeshua answered, Do you say this from yourself, or did others talk to you about me? Pilate answered, Am I a Jew? Your own nation and chief priests have delivered you to me. Why, what did you do? Yeshua answered, My reign is not of this world. If my reign were of this world, my servants would fight, so that I should be not delivered to the Judean, the Jews. But now my reign is not from here. Then Pilate said to him, You are a sovereign then. Yeshua answered, You say it, because I am a sovereign. For this I was born, and for this I have come into the world, that I should bear witness to the truth. Everyone who is of the truth hears my voice. Pilate said to him, What is truth? And when he had said this, he went out again to the Judean, the Jews, and said to them, I find no guilt in him. But you have a habit that I shall release someone from you at the Passover. Do you wish then that I release to you the sovereign of the Judean? Then they all shouted again, saying, No, not this one, but Barabbas. And Barabbas was a robber and a murderer. Shalom. Make it a great day. Read your Bible. Talk to the Father.